We're in Stavanger, let's go for a walk. Flat white takeaway, please.
May I ask the name?
Daniela.
Daniela, thank you.
This is your friendly reminder to drink water. Oh no. In hindsight, it may have not been the wisest idea to film in a park. It's Monday and we are in Stavanger, and since April this was always our Monday of the week. Pretty cool. It's a much bigger city than I thought it would have been, and I just took some time to get lost throughout it today, and I did one of my favorite activities, which is to go on a hop on and hop off bus. I've been meaning to approach this topic a bit more publicly, so here are some of the questions I get asked when it comes to working as a photographer on a cruise ship. I don't really speak about it much. One of the things that surprises me all the time is that anytime I am being asked what do I do on a cruise ship and I say I'm the photo manager, people seem to be very surprised that there is such a job on board, and being a manager implying that I have a bigger team, so it's not just like, a singular photographer on board. So are there photographers on cruise ships? Yes, they are, but also it really depends on the cruise line. Tip number one when you're filming by yourself: never sit somewhere just because there's no one there, because I can promise you someone's going to sit next to you, especially if it's a children's park, Danny. Come on, you can do better than that. Hi! Oh. Either I'm getting older or because of these YouTube videos, but I am very sensitive to noises lately. Don't have a lot of time. Let's see how much of the topic we can cover today. Drive away, drive away, drive away. You can do it, you can do it, you can do it. The follow-up question after the realization that there are photographers on board is, what do you take photos of? We take photos of passengers. For example, the cruise ship I'm on at the moment has almost 5,000 passengers who are sailing with us for a week. Then they disembark, and then a new almost 5,000 passengers are going to sail with us. It's interesting to see that people's main assumption is that we take photos of the surroundings. It'd be very interesting to understand the logic behind such a business operation. Like, how could we necessarily make money as a business from just taking photos of the landscape? We set studios or photo setups in specific beautiful locations around the ship, and then guests come to us to have their photographs taken, and especially depending on the type of event, dress code for the day. Some days are much busier, like if it's a celebration night, a formal night, a gala night, rather than just a casual night. How does the photography department work? Well, from cruise line to cruise line, some of them have the photography department in-house. Some other cruise lines have a collaboration with a third-party company, and they're like a concession on board. It's not something that would be obvious from outside. You just have the photographers on board. However, whether it's a concession or whether it's in-house, I suppose it's visible only from an operational standpoint. How do I apply? Like any job, the roles are advertised on LinkedIn. However, I would encourage you to also do research on the type of cruise lines you would like to work with. Keep in mind that every cruise line has more than one ship, and it's not necessarily guarantee where you would end up actually working. Sometimes when you go to the cruise line's website, they either have the positions advertised there, or if you look somewhere in the menus, if they work with concessions with the third-party company, they are also mentioned and advertising partners perhaps. So you could find the jobs on the website or on LinkedIn. Do some research before. Do you need to bring your own gear? I understood that this depends from company to company. Personally, for the company that I work with, I don't need to. It's provided by the company, which I think it's more than normal, because for you to pay for your gear after taking such a substantial amount of images, I think that's quite... If you need to pay for the gear, the chances for that gear to not be the type of equipment you really want to work with, it might actually be not the best investment. Before, the only fee at some point that I've had to pay for equipment, but this was with another company, was almost like a deposit to ensure that you're going to take care of the gear that you're being given, because some photographers were very disrespectful with the gear they were given. So then you would pay a deposit at the beginning of your contract. If you handed back the gear in a good condition, then you would be given that money back. There's a certain amount of paperwork you need to have regardless of the role you would have on board, like visas or medical certificates. Part of them would be paid by you but reimbursed by the company. However, I would recommend that you do some research and ask some questions on the travel policy, if your flights are always insured on the way to the ship to join the ship as well as on the way back. There are quite a few things to consider. For example, it's quite a big difference if your company doesn't pay for your travel and then you need to join the ship, let's say in the UK, and you're from India or South America. I think that ticket could be quite expensive, so make sure you take these expenses into account when applying for a position to understand what your earnings would look like. I love how I started this video by answering the questions that I'm being asked. However, now I'm also advising you when you get a job in photography, ask questions about the role division and about the possibility of progression. Depending on how big the team is and how big the ship is, for a better organization, there might be a role division. Someone might be the lab technician and only take care of processing the images, editing the images. Some others might only do, let's say, private shoots. So you might end up doing part of the job on repeat. There's some companies that don't have a role division, so sort of everyone learns everything and does everything as part of their training. In my experience and in my opinion, the more aware you are of the entire operation and the entire business without having a role division, the better chance you have for progression if you are interested in management, let's say. How long is the contract? My shortest contract was 3 months. My longest contract was 7. However, it was actually sort of 13 months with 3 weeks off. So sometimes it depends. Either you can have a preset contract. Usually contracts are about 6 months on an average, depending on rotations, depending if you're willing to extend. because you have a good itinerary, always expect the unexpected. But I would say roughly around 6 months. On the things that are worth researching, it might be worth also asking what type of cruising are you gonna do. Is it track cruising like we're doing now, Norway on repeat, 7-day cruises for half a year? Or do you have a chance of doing world voyages, which is when the ship goes for maybe 4 months away and it just travels around the world with the same guests? The cruising type is very different. It's worth knowing that as a photographer, you do go out in all the ports. I think photography is a fantastic job to do on a cruise ship. It's a highly sociable job. You move around a lot. You're not like stuck in your department. You have a lot of access, which I adore. You have a lot of, behind the scenes access, which is normal. However, you have a lot of guest facing situations and interactions, which does make you taste a little bit of both worlds. I think that was a little bit of everything. Let me know if you have any more photography specific question or any cruise related questions. I should be making my way back to the ship very soon. This is video number 3 from the 10 video challenge that I've given myself. At the moment, I am not on track, and that is absolutely fine because I am doing what I promised myself to do, even if it's not in the same time frame that I initially wanted it to do. Because to be honest, it was a bit unrealistic, and because I talk a lot. Oh my god, no wonder I don't enjoy editing, because there's so much content to go through and so much information I deliver that it's sometimes interesting to summarize it and to make it a bit more viewer friendly and viewer relevant.